while I was caught up in work, trying to keep everything together. An unexpected email arrived. I opened it with a sinking feeling. It was from Bruce. I immediately reached out to him, desperate for answers. His response was calm, almost detached. "I'm sorry," he began, "but I've fallen for someone else. I'm starting a new life with her." He went on to tell me he would be taking the luxury camper van we had just purchased, which was under my name, and that I would be responsible for the loan repayment. My attempts to talk him out of it were futile. Bruce quickly ended the conversation and became unreachable. It was the last I heard from him. He vanished with his new partner, leaving me with a massive debt and a family to care for. At 38, I found myself reeling. My name is Tiffany, and my husband Bruce, also 38, had abandoned me and our 9-year-old son, Russell. Russell was brilliant, always reading, discussing complex issues, and impressing everyone around him with his intelligence. Meanwhile, Bruce had always struggled, never able to keep a steady job. I worked full-time and was the one who kept our financials stable, always focused on our future. We had dreamed of building lasting memories together, and after years of instability, we decided to buy a $110,000 camper van. But when it came time to secure financing, Bruce couldn't meet the requirements, so I had to take out the loan in my name. The day the van was delivered, I received Bruce's shocking email. He told me he would be taking the van, since the loan was in my name, and that I would be responsible for the payments. He also mentioned he had fallen in love with someone else and was planning to start a new life with her. Stunned, I called him immediately. He confessed that he was leaving me for this woman and even brought up the divorce papers we had discussed in the past, saying he was planning to file them. He ended the call abruptly, leaving me heartbroken and blindsided. This was the first time I fully understood the extent of Bruce's betrayal. I tried calling him over and over, but he was gone. When I got home from work and went to check the drawer where the divorce papers should have been, I found it empty. The papers were gone, and I was left to face the financial burden of the $110,000 loan he had left behind. I couldn't understand how he could do this to us. Russell, who had been quiet about everything, responded when I asked him how he felt. "I kind of knew this was coming," he said, his voice strangely detached. It was as if he had anticipated this moment. Even though he was only 9, I knew he had to be affected, but he tried to hide it. My heart broke for him, but I kept pushing forward, thinking I needed to stay strong for both of us. Despite my best efforts, my emotional turmoil was taking a toll on my health. I had a training session at work that day, but I couldn't stand up. I told my colleague I needed a break and collapsed. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. The doctor told me I needed a thorough examination and would have to stay for observation. As I lay there, staring at the 4-drip and the sterile white ceiling, tears began to flow. Just then, Russell burst into the room, his face filled with worry. "Mom, what happened? Is it serious? You're not going to die, are you?" His voice trembled with fear. I wiped my tears and reassured him as best I could. "Of course not, sweetheart, I won't leave you." Relief washed over his face. "I was so scared when the teacher called and said you were in the hospital," he admitted, his voice trembling. Seeing how deeply this was affecting him strengthened my resolve to be more open with him, to not hide my pain. He was still just a child, but he was showing a maturity far beyond his years, and it made me want to fight for both of us. Despite my best efforts to stay strong, my health deteriorated. After more tests, the doctors diagnosed me with a serious illness and recommended immediate surgery. I followed their advice and underwent the procedure. A month later, I was discharged from the hospital and returned home, still grappling with the weight of everything that had happened. I opened the mailbox, and my heart sank as I found a demand letter for the car loan payment. I had assumed these payments were being automatically deducted from my account, but panic set in as I checked my balance. My cash card, once showing a healthy $42,000, now had a mere $54. Bruce had done this, I thought to myself, feeling helpless. I wanted to demand he return the money, but I couldn't reach him. What should I do now? Without the camper van, selling it to recover the funds wasn't an option. As I sank deeper into despair, Russell noticed my distress. He placed his hand on my forehead and asked, "You look pale. Are you feeling sick again?" "You don't have a fever, though." "I'm physically fine," I replied, swallowing the lump in my throat. "But your father took not only the car but all the money we had saved. I can't work because of my condition, and now we have no money." Seeing my predicament, Russell's face lit up with determination. "I see, then I'll deliver newspapers and search online for any work I can do," he declared. His resolve sparked something in me. It wasn't the time to be defeated. You're right, I said, a renewed sense of purpose filling me. Sorry for worrying you. I can't afford to be weak. I'll change my mindset and do whatever I can. I managed a small smile, and Russell smiled back. Then, unexpectedly, he suggested something I hadn't even considered. Let's plan how to get the car back from Dad. I was taken aback. How can we do that? The camper van is in your name, right? Yes, but what about it? Russell asked, already brainstorming. He started proposing an idea that hadn't even crossed my mind, a completely out-of-the-box solution. I was stunned. But I have no idea where your father is, I admitted, the weight of our situation settling in. Despite the challenges, Russell's creative thinking and proactive attitude gave me a flicker of hope. Let's check my phone, I suggested, recalling something from a month ago, when we went on a family hike. Russell had gotten a bit disoriented, surprising even us. To help him feel more secure, we had bought him a child's cell phone with a GPS app that both Bruce and I could access. With this app, I can see where Dad is in real time, I explained. He's been moving around a lot. Oh, is that so? Russell asked. But what if we find him and he just gives us a vague answer and escapes again? I hesitated. Good point, I mused, trying to think ahead. But don't worry, Russell grinned, revealing a hint of a plan I hadn't anticipated. I've already taken precautions, he said. I was taken aback by his initiative. What did you just say? I was amazed. While I'd been in the hospital, Russell had independently tracked Bruce's movements, including his time with his new partner. A rush of pride surged through me. I can't believe such a clever child is mine, I thought, deeply impressed by his foresight. All right, let's teach Dad a lesson for betraying us, I agreed, feeling emboldened by Russell's confidence. Together, we began putting the plan into action. With Russell by my side, I felt unstoppable. Bring it on. Anywhere, anytime, I thought, determined to make things right. 5 days later, my phone rang. Ah, it's me. Please, I need your help. I played along, even though I recognized the voice immediately. Who might this be? Don't play dumb. It's your husband. I'm being questioned by the police, because of you. At this rate, they might even ask me to come to the station voluntarily. Help me out. I paused for a moment, then replied coolly, Oh, is that so? Just wait a moment. I maintained my composure, ready for whatever was to come. I immediately went with Russell to the location Bruce had mentioned. To my surprise, it was a forest park near our house, a popular camping spot. There, I saw Bruce being questioned by the police in front of his car, looking utterly bewildered. A mix of pity and resolve filled me as I approached the officers. We need to talk to him, I said. Could you please give us a moment? The officers stepped aside, giving us some space. Inside the car, Bruce's mistress sat cross-legged, glaring at us. But her presence no longer fazed me. Sorry about that, Bruce muttered as he looked up. Thanks for coming, but why did the police suddenly show up at my place? I don't get it. I remained calm. It's because I filed a report about the missing camper van. What? Why would you do that? He asked, bewildered. It's obvious, isn't it? My car was stolen, I said matter-of-factly. Bruce, still clinging to the assumption that actions between spouses couldn't be criminal, began to stammer out nonsensical excuses. But I wasn't fooled. You filed for divorce, remember? So we're practically strangers now. And driving a stranger's car without permission? That's a crime, I explained, recalling the sharp thinking of Russell, who had pieced everything together. I didn't steal the car. I just borrowed it for a bit. Bruce protested weakly. Oh, is that so? Well, I'd like my car back now, I said, extending my hand for the keys. Could you return it? After a moment of reluctance, Bruce handed over the keys. With them safely in my possession, I felt a small victory. But Russell, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke up. Hey, why did you abandon your family and run off with her? He asked, his voice steady but full of curiosity. Caught off guard by his son's blunt question, Bruce flinched, visibly flustered, and awkwardly scratched his head. His mistress, Julia, couldn't resist chiming in smugly. It's because I'm more attractive than your mother, she said, her voice dripping with condescension. Look at me. You can see it, right? He fell head over heels for me and decided to leave his family. Quiet. I didn't ask you, old lady, Russell snapped, his tone firm. Dad, you answer. Julia fell silent, cowed by Russell's directive, but Bruce remained unresponsive. If you can't explain, that's fine, I said, my voice icy. I'll just have the police come back and take you. Bruce hesitated. Wait, hold on, okay, I'll talk. Reluctantly, Bruce confessed. Julia joined my company 2 months ago. We were attracted to each other at the new employee welcome party. Later, we found out she was pregnant. I decided to start a new life with her, leaving you and the kids behind. Why take the camper van, then? I pressed, not yet satisfied. I quit my job and thought about selling the car for money, Bruce explained. But it seemed like you were using it a lot. I thought it was a waste to sell it right away, so we decided to go on a trip. Wait, how do you know all this? He asked, puzzled. I crossed my arms. Remember when Russell got lost? After that, we bought him a kid's cell phone and installed a GPS app on it. Don't you remember? We installed it on your phone, too, so I've known where you've been all this time. I later found out from Russell that during our family hike, he had deliberately pretended to get lost. It was a clever move, designed to help us monitor the situation and be prepared for any uncertainties ahead. I was stunned by his foresight and strategic thinking. I suspected something was off with Dad, so I came up with this plan to keep an eye on him, Russell explained, his calm tone betraying his young age. You're a formidable child, I said, half joking, half serious. I hope I never become an adult like Dad, someone who betrays important people without a second thought. Bruce, faced with the harsh reality of what Russell had laid bare, looked pitiful. He had no defense. Seeing Russell, at just 9 years old, speak with such clarity and resolve filled me with a sense of strength as a mother. I knew I couldn't back down, especially now that it was time to settle things properly. I turned to Bruce. Also, return the $42,000 you withdrew from my account. That was our joint property. Bruce stubbornly retorted, I don't have to return it. It's not like that, I shot back. That money was what I saved bit by bit while I was single. You always quit jobs halfway, so we never saved money together, did we? The realization that Bruce and his mistress had squandered the $42,000 was appalling, but it also gave me a sense of relief about my decision to divorce him. If you've stolen and used my car and my money, that's a serious crime, I continued. Bruce tried to dismiss it. I just sent the police away, so it's not their business anymore, right? We only said we would talk, I corrected him. I have no intention of withdrawing the complaint. I'll add the theft of my money to the report. Should I call the police now? I can do it with just one button on my phone, I added, making it clear I wasn't backing down. Julia, Bruce's mistress, had been watching the conversation in silence. As the tension grew, she attempted to leave the camper van, but her exit was interrupted by a loud scream. Outside the door stood Julia's parents, their faces flushed with anger. Surprised, Julia stepped back, and her parents immediately began yelling at her. I called your parents beforehand, I revealed, watching the scene unfold. Julia, clearly taken aback, stammered, What? How did you? The truth was, during my hospital stay, Russell had visited Bruce's office and tearfully told Julia's parents what had happened. This preemptive move had set everything in motion. Russell had managed to obtain Julia's parents' address by talking to her coworkers, who had noticed her increasingly close relationship with Bruce. With that information, Russell and I had visited them, armed with a photo of Julia, and told them everything. After contacting Julia's parents again, we asked them to stay nearby, ready to confront their daughter. Julia looked stunned. How could you do this to me? She asked, her voice filled with betrayal. I shot back. I don't want to hear that from you. That's my line. Then, noticing her pregnant belly, I couldn't help but ask, by the way, your stomach seems quite big. When's the baby due? In 2 months, she replied, flustered. I raised an eyebrow. Wait a minute, you and my husband met only 2 months ago. What's going on? The timeline doesn't add up. Everyone, including Bruce, sensed something was off. This is the first time Bruce heard about the due date, I said, watching as his face fell. Don't you get it? It takes about 8 months from conception to birth, which means the child she's carrying isn't yours. Bruce stared at Julia, the realization dawning on him. Are you stupid? Don't you get it? She's been lying to you this whole time. Julia's posture shifted as she resigned to her fate. I almost got away with it, she scoffed. Can't help it now, can I? I'm caught. You were too naive to see through the lies. Her voice turned bitter. A fool. My whole life is ruined because of you. Bruce, boiling with frustration, demanded, what were you thinking? Bruce and Julia then began to argue, but no one intervened. We had the police on standby, ready to return if necessary. As dusk fell, the red lights of police cars approached. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I'll never cheat again. Please just don't arrest me, Bruce pleaded, desperation in his voice. Russell, ever wise, interjected, people don't change that easily, especially lazy people like you. Exactly, I added, I can't trust you. Think about your actions and prepare to face the consequences at the police station. Bruce hesitated. If I get arrested, I won't be able to pay you back. Is that okay? I don't mind, I replied calmly. You can pay me back after you've served your time. Don't worry, I've already found you a job. Turning to Julia, I added, you might think you're just an observer here, but don't forget, you're an accomplice to Bruce's theft. Be prepared for the consequences. Julia tried to seek help from her parents, but they refused, disowning her. We won't support a daughter who causes trouble for others. With that, Bruce and Julia were taken away in a police car, though they were released from detention soon after. They now faced a substantial financial obligation to me. Through a lawyer, I successfully claimed $42,000 in damages, as well as an agreement for Bruce to pay $11,000 a month in child support for Russell. I also secured Bruce a position at a subcontracting factory associated with my company. The child support and other payments would be directly deducted from his salary and deposited into my account. I sold the camper van, freeing myself from the auto loan associated with it. Since these changes, my health has improved remarkably. I'm more energetic and committed to my work than ever before. Russell, too, has been actively helping with household chores and errands. We are both moving forward, stronger than ever, with Russell free to pursue whatever path he desires without any hindrances.